for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. If you're up and around and you're out and about and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, that number to call, area code 267-687-0026. And as always, the Shop Report is being powered by none other than the fine folks over at Rocket Digital Media. It's the one-stop shop for all your digital marketing needs. You can look them up on Facebook at RDM Detroit. Once again, that's at RDM Detroit. Or you can go to their website, rocketdigital.net. That's ROCKIT digital.net, and tell them BSJ sent you. Joining us on the program today is none other than my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park. Brother Rich, what's happening?
Brother, it's so hot in L.A. right now, in California right now. It's almost as hot as it is in Dallas there with you and the Texas Cowboys and whatever you call that team that you follow. It's just really warm out here right now, my brother. But I'm always honored and humbled to be on the show with you and the rest of the listeners, and, of course, my brother and friend up the way.
You can't throw a slight or an epithet about making or Dallas reference and then talk about you humbled to be on the program with us today. That's a contradictory statement there, you understand? But we'll get back to you in a minute. Let me slide on over to the other side of the ledger and introduce my main man, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say.
Proud to announce our host has partnered with none other than Odell Beckham to be sponsored by Miralax.
See, go ahead and finish the crap that you were getting ready to, that you had started saying. See, this is what.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. What?
He's going to be the number 2 receiver for the Browns to take them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is exactly why I can't stand neither one of y'all. And guess what? You're fired. Anywho, this we're going to go right into the action for today's program. This first one comes to us from none other than the National Football League, or as some might like to call it, the Not For Long, in particular my two co-hosts, Thing 1 and Thing 2. Now, what we're going to do is, from this day until the end of the season, is preview or profile 3 games to watch, or as some might call it, or some might say, 3 games that are must-see TV from each week of the NFL season. Starting, of course, with week 1. I should have asked, are y'all ready for some football? But nonetheless, starting with week 1 and Thursday night's game, that's right, the NFL season, 2020 NFL season kicks off this Thursday, September the 10th. The 8:20 p.m. game is none other than a matchup. Some people are calling it, actually saying right off the gate, or right off the rip, if you would, that this is the preview of the AFC West Championship, and that is the Texans at the Chiefs. Double J, we'll start with you, seeing how you like to double down and make regular unscheduled trips to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? When you should be here with me in the studio. What's your take on this one, man? Do you think this is a preview of the AFC West Championship? I mean, I don't think that the NFL could have started off with no better game, if you ask me, or no better matchup. What you say?
I'm going to disagree strongly on this one.
Oh, boy, why am I not surprised by that?
Yeah, well, and Brother Rich, I've told you this a few times now. We know there's some kind of other heat or stench coming from that state of Texas, and it seems to take our host. That aroma seems to carry him from the depths of Dallas to H-Town there, because his fandom doesn't run very far, and we know he is he admires Deshaun Watson quite a bit. Now, I will give him credit with this. Why I believe this game will be a blowout. It will be fun to see if your favorite player that's not in a Cowboys uniform will rise, as they say the cream does, to the top here without his very well-paid receiver that is now in Arizona.
Okay, so wait a minute. Here you all go. Double J, you starting, because I already can tell Brother Rich getting ready to sign off on it. What is wrong? Is it a crime? Number one, Deshaun Watson is not my favorite player, number one. Number two, if he were, is that a bad thing?
We know that he's not a Cowboy.
Oh, but Double J was making a reference because he's in the state of Texas that he somehow is. So, but again, would that be a bad thing? Because if I'm not mistaken, at one point in time, and still to this day, the Browns, y'all's favorite team, regret passing on him. If I do recollect, and you know my memory is not well these days, but if I do recollect, the Browns regretted, and as a lot of teams did, passing on Deshaun Watson. So are we saying bad things about Deshaun Watson? Is that what I'm hearing from you, Double J? That Brother Richard's getting ready to sign off on?
Well, here's the thing.
Oh, boy, here
Brother
we go.
Rich, you may recall this better than our host, who may be having a senior moment here. I'm going to go on record again and remind the audience that our host has said that Deshaun Watson would meet or exceed the same levels of success Patrick Mahomes has if he were in the driver's seat in Kansas City.
Fact.
I did not say that.
These are facts. You can pull the tape on it. These are facts. These are absolute facts, because we had this conversation last season when, check the tape again, we kept telling you that the guy in Kansas City is the gentleman to keep an eye on, that he is revolutionizing this game. So go ahead, Double J. I have to bear witness that you spoke the truth, sir.
Okay, so wait a minute. Do I have to explain myself again? Because I see you all, misconstrusion is the word for the day, okay? And I'm pointing to both of you all with one left finger towards COVID, California, and my right finger towards, I'm not going to even say what I was going to say about Michigan, Joey Harbaugh over there. Anyway, I said what I said about Deshaun Watson in that offense. I never said anything about Deshaun Watson comparable to Patrick Mahomes. I said Patrick Mahomes is up here, and then everybody else is a distant 32nd. But if I got to start at the distant 32nd, I would start with Deshaun Watson. I said in that offense, Deshaun Watson could absolutely win a Super Bowl in that offense, because after Patrick Mahomes and aside from Lamar Jackson, name me another NFL quarterback right now that can do what Deshaun Watson can do. Because we've all seen Deshaun Watson with a Texans defense that on the back end was horrendous from Deshaun Watson's standpoint in the offense or whatnot, even with DeAndre Hopkins and not having a whole lot else around him. Because if you think about when Deshaun Watson had Hopkins, who else would you really name that was an offensive threat? Similar, and I'm giving it up to him, to what the Browns might have right now. Or better yet, let's go back to 2005, similar to what, and I'm not comparing him to Peyton Manning, but I'm saying as far as the talent level around the quarterback, because we all know that does make a difference in the NFL, right? What Peyton Manning had in Marvin Harrison, Pollard, Dallas Clark, Edgerrin James, or who was Joseph Adai, whichever one of them was over there then. And then, did I say Reggie Wayne too? Who else did Deshaun Watson have around him? In that offense.
Well, but
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no. And this is what I want to point out. By saying he would
really?
win a Super Bowl, you are very much implying that it is the system. And again, that system had previously yielded zero return in terms of Super Bowl victories with any other quarterback.
Oh, but hold it. See, now, no, that's ambiguous. No, it's you're correct, but you got to go into a little bit more detail. Okay, you're right. Okay, it has yielded 0 Super Bowls. Right. Okay, right. But were they in the Super Bowl? Yes, they were. So it's not like it's not like Andy Reid winning last year was his first time to the dance. That's number one. Number two, if we go back and look at the game itself, the Eagles lost to the Patriots by 3 points. It's not like the offense didn't put up points against a vaunted Patriots defense that was more vaunted then than it has been in more recent memory. And who's to say that in the defeat that it wasn't the Eagles' defense? Was Jim Johnson the defensive coordinator then? I'm not sure. So I could arguably say that Deshaun Watson is better than Donovan McNabb. Oh, yeah, it's crickets all day long. Yes.
You want us to argue with you about that?
No,
we agree with you on that.
That's why I said.
What we're talking about here is we're talking about Patrick Mahomes and the fact that you're trying to make the case to us that if you just simply you attempted to make the case to us that if you just simply switch the quarterbacks themselves, that Deshaun could do with the Kansas City squad what Patrick Mahomes did.
No,
They will be a witness.
No.
But that's what you just said.
No,
again.
I'm
You just
saying.
reiterated that point to us.
No, I'm saying in that offense.
Like Double J is saying, you're saying it's a system thing.
No, I'm not saying it's a system. Listen, Patrick Mahomes took Andy Reid's system to another to a stratosphere that no other quarterback right now could reach. But what I am saying is Donovan McNabb took that same offense to a Super Bowl. Now, he didn't win it, but he got there. I'll say it this way then. Put Deshaun Watson in place of Donovan McNabb with Terrell Owens. Andy Reid wins a Super Bowl with Philadelphia. Then. That ain't no knock. That ain't no knock against Mahomes. In other words, if Deshaun Watson was
really going to see Deshaun Watson on full display. Here's my thing. If you're an NFL executive, even a head coach, that decision to trade your number one receiver does not happen without Deshaun Watson. You're starting.
Oh, stop it. No way. Because Bill O'Brien done made some.
This no weapon nonsense you keep saying. He seems to have a lot of faith in those guys.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Is Bill O'Brien not on record for making some of the dumbest player acquisition or subtraction moves in probably the history of the NFL? Yes.
He certainly.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is.
That I will give credit.
Yes, he is a. Yes, he is a bone. He's more boneheaded than the Browns have been. Bill O'Brien did in 1 year in terms of probably getting rid of folks or making questionable player personnel moves in 1 year. And I couldn't even name them. I just can know in 1 year than the Browns have since '99. Bill O'Brien makes some of the most. I'm telling you right now. I could listen. I know little dudes that play on pee-wee football teams be like, "What is They know Bill O'Brien for all the wrong reasons before Deshaun Watson was ever even thought of being gotten rid of." Come on now. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is Patrick Mahomes. And we got my man D. Gully from the CO Lumbus to join us. D. Gully, what's up?
Everything under the sun. I'm glad to be back with you guys. And didn't want to stop your momentum, man. Go ahead, keep going.
I'm not by any means saying that Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes are on the same level. All I'm alluding to is if Patrick Mahomes in that Kansas City Andy Reid's offense can score with Mahomes, that offense averages 60 points a game. Easy. And even in the NFL with a, and I know I'm probably reaching here, but I'm going to reach because I am tall. Even in the Lawrence Taylor and the Ronnie Lott days, that offense with Patrick Mahomes would average at least 45. That's how great Patrick Mahomes is. But that same offense with Deshaun Watson would have averaged at least 28 points a game. And I watched, if you really, really, really look at it, the Andy Reid tree and where the tree that Andy Reid comes from, I think it's the Bill Walsh tree maybe, some or another. You know what I'm saying? I mean, or somewhere Parcells, somebody around there. I watched the Giants team win a Super Bowl with Jeff Hostetler. I watched the Ravens win a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. I watched Andy Reid get to a Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb. And I am comparing the two. And in comparing the two, I'm asking the question, do we not think that Deshaun Watson is better than Donovan McNabb? Okay.
Without a doubt.
Okay. In that offense, and I don't know what the Eagles were averaging points per game wise with Donovan McNabb, but they got to a Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb and basically Terrell Owens because Todd Pinkston
But
was.
I think you forgot how good the Eagles were. Remind me, Double J, help us. You're the statistician on this staff. You may have some facts to support this. The Eagles of that time, as I recall, they were an exceptional defensive team.
No, not
So
exceptional.
It was not just, quote unquote,
No, not exceptional. They were good. They were darn good, but they were not
they
exceptional.
were a good defensive team. Well, let's say they were a good defensive team. So
Okay.
they had more going for them than just that, the fact that they had Donovan McNabb. And they had Terrell Owens. He was in his prime doing what he was doing. They were a good team.
Okay,
per
but
se.
offense puts up points, though.
I think what we're
Offense puts up
But
points.
I think what we're doing, but here's the offense was the point. But here's what we're saying. We're saying that if you pull the tape on what we're saying, that the uniqueness about Patrick Mahomes is that he himself makes some of those plays. So it's not just a system thing. It's not just a plug and play kind of thing. It's unique to him in that we talked about some of the throws he makes. We talked about some of the off balance, very unique motions that he does that we haven't seen before.
I'm not.
So it's not like anybody could just do that, no matter how.
No,
how,
I'm not.
Quote unquote athletic. or
I'm not
skilled they are
saying that.
in themselves.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is Patrick Mahomes by any stretch. What I'm saying to you is if Andy Reid's offense, now, had Andy Reid's offense never gotten to a Super Bowl before? Because don't get it twisted now. Under Andy Reid, the Eagles stayed in the playoffs. They lost the NFC Championship to the Buccaneers. So I'm not saying that in Andy Reid's offense prior to Patrick Mahomes that had they not gotten there before, okay. But it's not Andy Reid's offense had already been there before. He couldn't get over the hump until he had a Patrick Mahomes. And when he did get over the hump, he didn't just get over the hump. He didn't just come to the party. He kicked the door in with Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying it's a system thing. I'm talking about the quarterbacks, just strictly the quarterbacks. I'm not comparing Deshaun Watson to Patrick Mahomes at all. What I'm saying is, if Andy Reid's offense could get to a Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb at the helm and put up 21 points against a Patriots defense that was better than the Eagles defense, go look it up, then surely a Deshaun Watson with the Eagles over McNabb could have put up 28 and might have won Andy Reid his first one before Mahomes. Mahomes took Andy Reid's offense to a level which we have never seen. I'm not disputing that. But having seen Andy Reid's offense stay in NFC championships and get to a Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb, no disrespect to Donovan, but I like Steve McNair far better. Yeah, and Warren Moon, but that's just me. Oh, my goodness. Because if you look again at Deshaun Watson, you want to talk about the team that he had around him? Outside of J.J. Watt on defense, and more recently, and Gully, I'll let you weigh in here in a second, who was the other defensive guy? Was it Jadeveon Clowney? I think it was, right? You talk about the team. Name 5 guys on the Houston Texans on either side of the ball that you were fearful of since Deshaun Watson has been there, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You take DeAndre Hopkins out, the Texans don't have not nary another offensive player other than Watson that defenses don't look across the field and be like, what? Hopkins ain't in the game? Don't look at them and laugh. So we always are imaginative when we talk about other players and who they have around them and surrounded by and all that other stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's do some hyperbole or just humor me. Put Deshaun Watson or around Deshaun Watson what other quarterbacks who always stay in the upper echelons, not named Patrick Mahomes, have had around them. Because the guy I'm thinking of, and I'm not comparing him either, but I'm just saying when you surround a guy with better than average talent at the skill positions, right? John Elway, McCaffrey, Rod Smith, Shannon Sharp, and still, well, this is when he had Ricky Nattil and all them guys, to tell you the truth. But when he got Terrell Davis, see what I'm saying? He looks so much better, even though he by himself was a talent, 83 draft class. I'm not knocking that. What I'm saying is, let's imagine some guys that the Peyton Mannings and even the Eli Mannings and the Patrick Mahomes, not comparing them, just saying what he had around. Let's imagine some of those types of guys around Deshaun Watson. Because again,
what do you mean? Kind of like the highest paid receiver in the league that he had?
I said
the Hall of Fame receiver he had?
I said,
what more help
okay,
do you want?
Okay, listen. But listen. But again, Donovan McNabb had Terrell Owens, who was a Hall of Fame receiver before he ever stopped playing. I said, take DeAndre Hopkins off that field for a minute. What else? Because when I mentioned John Elway, didn't I name more than one Hall of Fame potential player? Peyton Manning enjoyed Marvin Harrison, Hall of Fame, Reggie Wayne, Hall of Fame, Edgerrin James, Hall of Fame, Joseph Adai, Hall of Fame, Dallas Clark, Hall of Fame.
Well, that's a very good example of teams loading, their rosters in those skill positions. However, you could look at Tom Brady and say something quite different, almost similar to Deshaun Watson. The only Hall of Fame receiver Tom Brady had was Randy Moss, and that was for, 2 years? And so, again, Watson's had one his entire career. The fact that they didn't get anywhere in an atrocious division is really no fault of their, but their own. As far as running backs, again, this is something they've attempted to fix on more than one occasion. It's been a revolving door at that position. But again, a lot of that comes down to, unfortunately, their offensive line more than the receivers, because again, they've been drafting receivers for the better part of 4 years as well.
And guess what?
Albeit I do realize he found out that Hopkins was traded at the conclusion of a workout. So his head was left scratching as well.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien strikes again. And that's another point I mentioned before when we've had this conversation. And we'll get to the other two games here in a minute because we want to definitely the other topic, the main topic, of course, is the Pugilist, top 50 greatest boxers of all time. I think you all will find that interesting. But, I mean, my goodness, Deshaun Watson was probably sacked because when you talk about offensive line, that's key because the game is won and lost in the trenches, right? Right? So all them other guys, I mean, their offensive lines were far better. And again, you talk about running back.
Without doubt, every person you had mentioned.
You talk
Peyton
about
Manning had arguably.
Go ahead. What?
That same Elway was not shabby either. Again, having a successful running game. Look at Emmitt Smith, for goodness sake. Again, the examples we'll provide. We would arguably, with each running back, with maybe the exception being Barry Sanders, you could generally name an offensive lineman from that same roster.
Well, you're making my point.
Marshall Faulk.
You're making my point then about Deshaun Watson.
No, because Donovan McNabb didn't have that either. He had Brian Westbrook. But beyond that, again, the sack.
He had Deuce Staley.
Ratio, the yard.
He had Deuce Staley.
Case to be equal.
He had Deuce Staley. Brian Westbrook was the third down back. He had Deuce Staley. And the Texans running backs, the Texans have not had the Texans running back by carousel wasn't better than what the Browns had when they had Travis Prentice. Lamar Miller, I'm a Kane head, and Lamar Miller was not going to cut it. Lamar Miller probably was one of the worst Miami Hurricanes running back to ever come out. Matter of fact, I don't even think they let him they don't even let him in the city no more. My bad, Lamar. You know what I'm saying? It's my fault. I ain't mean to put you out there like that, baby. Kane for life. But anyway, let's let Gully weigh in on this. You've heard my rant here. You see this. You see how Double J and Brother Rich, they like to team up on me. But they don't realize I took my vitamin C today. I took 3. Okay, on the bottle it says take 1 before bedtime and 1 after dinner. But what did you say? Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to understand what I think you're getting at, because I came in, I didn't quite get your main crux of your argument.
Okay, well let me run it by you again. Then
rehash that real quick.
The crux of the argument is Double J and Brother Rich love to reference me with Texas in any shape, form, or fashion. You see what I'm saying? They call me Clippity Clop when we not on the air. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they call me, Double J called me Little Alamo. You know what I mean? Went from Little Jerry to Little Alamo. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Brother Rich asked me how my Spurs holding up, and he ain't talking about San Antonio. I don't know if he talking about San Antonio. He asked me, was I going to take over for Greg Popovich? Where that's coming from, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This thing with Texas, all throughout the state of Texas, you know what I'm saying? They didn't associated me with the state of Texas, even though I don't get no royalties. But the idea was we were going back to when we had talked about Deshaun Watson and whether or not if he could win a Super Bowl in the offense that Andy Reid runs right now. They want to make it seem like I'm saying it's a system thing, and I'm not even saying it's a system thing. I'm saying in Andy Reid's offense, because we've basically seen it before, Deshaun Watson could win a Super Bowl in that offense. Now, he could not do it to the level that Mahomes did it, which is what I said also.
This is a very simple argument to make. Throughout Andy Reid's career as a coach, I don't find many instances where his offenses has failed him in the clutch, aside from the wild card game that the Colts hosted some years ago, where Andrew Luck led a tremendous comeback to win. I want to say they put up like 24 or maybe 30 unanswered points. Even in the Super Bowl losses that he had, and even the Super Bowl loss that he had with the Eagles back 15 years ago, I don't know that the offense failed to come through. I think
that's what I said.
Deshaun Watson, as talented as Deshaun Watson is, what Andy Reid has finally been able to amass collectively in terms of an offensive team and scheme in this era, certainly a talent with Deshaun Watson's caliber would be able to win a Super Bowl. I think, I don't know what he's missing with the Andy Reid team that wouldn't get them over the hump. You may call it, nepotism, whatever, Double J and Brother Rich, but I'm siding with Barbershop on this. I don't see how he couldn't. Tell me, can you explain the ineptitude that a Deshaun Watson has that
or the deficiencies
Mahomes doesn't have? Tell me.
Well, the stats speak for themselves.
I might be.
Again,
Go ahead, Dominic.
discussing a system.
Go ahead, Dominic.
Yeah, just briefly, a system that's been in place for 2 decades, never yielded the same results. A freak of nature of an athlete that is on pace to exceed any of the names listed, including just in the history of the sport. That is the difference. These are not the same caliber of individuals. Would they both be playoff teams? Absolutely. You could make a case for a Super Bowl appearance, but again, getting the same results when actually that defense came under fire year after year when Mahomes first entered the league. So again, it was him carrying them, not the opposite. And again, if you were going to make the same case in Houston, he has had a Hall of Fame receiver. I think this is going to be the jury will be out following this year. What can you do with those same lack of weapons? Just like Tom Brady had only a single Hall of Fame receiver just about his entire career, with the exception of him developing other guys. Because if you remember, same with Peyton Manning, folks had left and never got the same type of result. So
yeah, but wait a minute.
I will say he's a quality quarterback, but he's not. We're arguing.
Hold
about
it,
two very different things.
Are you saying Deshaun Watson is an exceptional quarterback? Quality? Seriously?
Yeah. What stats were you about to bring up? See, I'll try not.
Hold on.
Can I respond? Can I get?
Yeah, go ahead. Brother.
Yeah, please.
No, go ahead, Double J. You're finishing your response, because I want to respond after he says this, because you all asked us to tell you what we're looking at. I have no problem telling you what I'm looking at, but Double J, by all means, please finish your point.
Okay, but hold on. But hold on. But hold on.
Only one Hall of Fame. Oh.
But hold on. Gully brought up a good point. At what point has Andy Reid's offenses failed him throughout his 2 decades of running his system?
Well, Jay,
how many Super Bowls has he won? Listen.
How many Super Bowls has he won?
How many Super Bowls has he won?
The same amount as John Elway before he got Terrell Davis.
How many years he been coaching?
Okay.
How many years he been coaching?
Listen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, here's the thing.
Wait.
Hold it.
Rich,
yeah,
hold on.
Yeah, because
only one other coach in 20 years has won more than one Super Bowl aside from Bill Belichick, and that's Tom Coughlin.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was going. But in addition to that, when you say for all the people out there that's fantasy play owners or whatever that play fantasy football, when you look at Deshaun Watson's Houston Texans team with a DeAndre Hopkins versus a Kansas City Chiefs team with Patrick Mahomes and all of that, who are you picking off that Texans squad?
Okay, but
versus who you picking off that Kansas City Chiefs squad?
Okay, but Jake, can I answer this question? May I be allowed to answer this?
Of
question?
course.
Here's my and you can pull the tape on this. Pull the tape. Listeners, go back and listen to this show when we discussed this at the beginning of last season. I, on this panel, am the least, I will openly confess to being the least knowledgeable about the game of football. I did not grow up with the NFL. I came to the NFL late. I'm the least knowledgeable person on this panel as it relates to the game of football. I'll openly confess that. I am novice as it relates to the game of football. Said on this very same platform, on this program, check the tape, that there was clearly a difference, and I knew that the Kansas City Chiefs would win the Super Bowl because, and I said it on this program, that there was clearly a difference between that young man and his skill set, his natural gifts, and what he uniquely, and not to take away from what Deshaun does, not to take away from what he does, not to take away from what's going on in Baltimore, not to take away from what's happening in Seattle. Great young players, the future of the game, not to take away from any of them. There's clearly something different about the young man that's performing in Kansas City, and everyone could see this, and I could see this. And when we talked about it on this program, I said on this platform, it was clear to me that after Andy Reid has been criticized, remember the talk going into the Super Bowl, if he failed with this young man, we would then begin to look at him. So y'all could talk all this stuff now about, well, Andy Reid's offenses have never failed him. But that's not what we were saying before the Super Bowl. We were saying that if he didn't win, we would have to really question whether he was a good coach or not, and whether or not he'd wasted the talents of the players that he had. Go back and check the tape on that. Not only was it being said on this platform, it was being said on other national platforms as well. And every pundit was talking about whether or not if they did not win, as a matter of fact, when they were in the playoffs and they were challenged, there were questions about that. And Double J pointed out to us that, in fact, the defense failed them, and it was Patrick Mahomes himself. Check the tape. Let's go look at the game.
Okay, but
he himself won some of those games for them.
No question.
He himself, as an injured player, won some of those games.
Listen,
That's what we're talking about here.
No question. But see, listen, I'm not I'm not comparing Deshaun Watson to Patrick Mahomes.
But you all asked us.
I
you
simply
all asked us why we thought he was such a unique talent, and why we didn't think that not just anyone could go into that system with Andy Reid's offense and just perform as well with the same.
I didn't say Deshaun Watson could perform as well. I said that Patrick Mahomes took Andy Reid's offense to a level that we have never seen before. That's what I said. But I'm also saying I've seen Andy Reid's offense get to a Super Bowl before. His offense last year in the Super Bowl, that was not his first.
I won't allow you to slander Donovan McNabb because he and
Donovan
Watson
McNabb,
are actually
Donovan McNabb,
comparable quarterbacks to one another.
How comparable to who?
And speaking of comparison,
Donovan McNabb is comparable.
Kansas City's offense.
No, Donovan McNabb is comparable to who?
Who did they have running the ball? Jay? Remember, their running back from 2 years ago was on Cleveland's roster.
Donovan McNabb is comparable to who?
The running back from last year isn't on the team.
Donovan McNabb is comparable to who?
The same possession.
Donovan McNabb is comparable to who?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, stop it.
Watson is on pace.
Oh, stop
He is
it.
on pace
Stop it.
to match Donovan
Stop
McNabb
it.
for a career.
Stop it.
He may
Stop
fall
it.
short.
Stop it. I don't listen. I could care less about the numbers. I'm telling you right now, and this is no disrespect to Donovan McNabb. But if we were doing a show on rating the African-American quarterbacks that I've seen in my lifetime, Donovan McNabb would be last on the list. Last on the list, begrudgingly. He wasn't better than Steve McNair.
So let me ask you.
Matter of fact, I might put Vince Evans up there and Art Gilliam. She still ain't better than Doug Williams, and nor Warren Moon, nor Randall Cunningham. Did I mention Steve McNair? Man, and surely not Mike Vick. And Mike Vick ain't ever go to a Super Bowl. But talent for talent, man, Donovan McNabb ain't nowhere in Deshaun Watson's stratosphere. Not talent for talent. Man, Donovan McNabb couldn't, man. And see, that's the thing. Before Patrick Mahomes, that's the thing. Nobody knew who Patrick Mahomes is. Now everybody want to act like they knew who Patrick Mahomes was. Nobody knew who he was. But at Clemson, Deshaun Watson has done something that few, listen, Jason Campbell couldn't even do at Auburn with an undefeated squad, even though they should have played in the national championship. What Deshaun Watson did, because we, like you, Brother Rich just said, we sat on this program and talked about what Deshaun Watson did with Clemson. He brought them. He brought them back. He did what he did. Cam Newton was the only other dude I ever saw that could do on that at that level. Man, stop, man. Donovan McNabb was nice.
Well, and again, take a look at the rest of the roster.
So wait a minute. So now we're looking at the rest of the roster? Okay, if we're looking at the rest of the roster.
In regards to his college career, absolutely. But again, comparing apples to apples with Andy Reid and the Chiefs, you're telling me you'd rather have Tyreek Hill over DeAndre Hopkins? Absolutely not.
What about Travis Kelce? That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's a very good point. What about him? That guy had 800 yards as a tight end before Patrick Mahomes.
Listen.
Now he's averaging 1,300.
Listen, I'm not. What I'm saying.
We just went through the running backs. They don't.
Okay,
care
well,
about
if that's the case,
why would they?
If that's the case, Larry Fitzgerald still was averaging 1,000 yards. Would name his quarterbacks. Huh?
Again, that speaks to greatness. That's what I'm trying to point out here is greatness elevates those around them.
Listen.
Or you could make the excuse, as you're doing right now, that he's not succeeding because of who's around him.
No, what I'm saying is
he's not succeeding because of the coach. And you just asked about the numbers. And the one thing that Patrick Mahomes does have over Deshaun Watson that's kind of like that would make you blow the comparisons. That's the most stark difference between the two is Deshaun Watson has 11 more picks at 29 picks over his career than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has a better completion percentage, and he's thrown for more yards.
He
I'm
has less
sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. I said that wrong. Deshaun Watson has a better completion percentage, and he's thrown for more yards.
What I'm saying is, here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. Anytime we come here and we talk about certain players, so in other words, in some instances, who a guy has around him weighs more or matters more than when it comes to other guys, and that's no knock against Mahomes. But you cannot have a sports conversation and talk about not mention who a guy has around him. We mentioned Philadelphia, and the first thing everybody said was Terrell Owens. But now, in the case of Deshaun Watson, but it ain't the talent around. It ain't got nothing to do if the greatness elevates this and that and whatever the case may be. And then again, in the case of Tom Brady is basically maybe an exception to the rule. Tom Brady didn't nobody see him coming either. Well, I liked him at Michigan, but he didn't get to play much over Elvis Gerback. But still, all I'm saying is at the end of the day, and then we're going to move on to the next two games. All I'm saying is I'm not comparing Deshaun Watson and what he brings to the table to Patrick Mahomes. There is no comparison to Mahomes. But in all my years of watching football, I know this. You don't have to have a Patrick Mahomes to win a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. And I watched Donovan McNabb get to one. And by no means is Donovan McNabb comparable to, he's not a Deshaun Watson. Donovan McNabb couldn't even hold Deshaun Watson's jock strap. Excuse my French fries for all those out there listening. Come on now. Come on, man. If Mahomes is and to say he's a quality quarterback, that's lightweight a slight. It really is to Deshaun Watson. It really is. It really, really is. Mahomes is an exceptional talent. Maybe 4 times over, but Deshaun Watson definitely is an exception. He's in the exceptional arena. Now, he might not be exceptional to the 10th power like Mahomes, but he's way past quality. Way past quality. I'll tell you who was quality. Mark Rippon was quality. Yeah. That guy that won a Super Bowl for Washington. Yeah. McNabb, man, stop it. Is McNabb in the Hall of Fame? And I ain't asking I'm just curious because I don't know. Is he in the Hall of Fame? Or is he Hall of Fame eligible?
No, and that's the point that I'm making here. Again, Donovan McNabb has 37,000 career passing yards.
And guess what?
Again, Watson is on pace. If he sustains what he's doing and potentially even continues to improve, which is what you would hope, that's why I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this year. Truthfully, I foresee this Texans team completely missing the playoffs, maybe winning 5 games.
And that'll be Deshaun Watson's fault?
No, this is Bill O'Brien will be
okay.
Because is how I feel.
And here's the reason why I asked you, was McNabb in the Hall of Fame? Not literally for him so much, because I wanted you to mention the numbers. Do you know, this is why I don't rely solely on the numbers. Do you know that Vinny Testaverde is being given Hall of Fame considerations, if not from the Hall of Fame committees, but definitely in the barbershops, because he has over 45,000 passing yards? Now, you're talking to
but he wasn't in the top 20% in the sack ratio.
Who?
In that percentile.
Who? Vinny Testaverde?
Like McNabb was. Testaverde.
Listen, all I know, I don't know that part of it. All I know is he got over 40-something thousand passing yards in the NFL. And watching Vinny Testaverde from Miami, as a Hurricane fan, I'm here to say it, and I will continue to say it. The only 2 quarterbacks that I've watched play for the University of Miami, my Canes, that were worthy, NFL worthy, or NFL caliber, legit NFL caliber, were Jim Kelly and Bernie Kosar. That's it. Now, were there other ones who made it? Absolutely. Steve Walsh, Gino Torretta, Vinny Colorblind Verdi. How did a guy like that get 42,000 and he played for the Browns? Every time he dropped back to pass, let's find a Browns fan that saw Vinny Testaverde in a Browns uniform and ask them, every time he dropped back to pass, what was the known thing to do? Cross your fingers. And here it is, this guy is in the Hall of Fame conversation. Again, maybe not from the committee, but in the barbershops everywhere I go. And they have this conversation. He's in it. If you watch Vinny Testaverde, you would not, and somebody said, man, he got over 40-some thousand passing yards, you would fall out the chair. No way you watch him and then not knowing, and then somebody tell you he's amassed that many passing yards, you would think that, but no way, not Vinny Testaverde, no way. No way. He was horrendous with 4 R's. Vinny Testaverde was. But that's what I'm saying. 42,000 yards? Come on now. And that's the only reason why I asked was Donovan in the hall. But anyway, can we slide over we're not going to agree on this, apparently. We're not going to agree. I'm in Deshaun Watson's camp, not because he played with the Texans and because of what I've seen him do, injured with the Clemson Tigers and Sammy Watkins and so on and so forth. Because, he had DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. But all them other guys that he had, where they at now in the NFL? I digress. And now we move on to Brother Rich and Double J's favorite team. The Cleveland Browns take on the Baltimore Ravens Sunday in this first slate of NFL games, which is our game number 2 of the 3 that we say must-see TV, and we all know why that's must-see TV. I know Brother Rich and Double J will be front and center, even though I'll probably be at work. You know what I'm saying, Gully? I don't know where you'll be, you know what I'm saying, with your landscaping business is all on the side. I don't know, but you probably won't be missing nothing. But anyway, the Browns take on the Baltimore Ravens and the infamous Lamar Jackson. Brother Rich, we'll come to you first. Because I know you're not an Ozzie Newsome fan. I know that already. You know what I'm saying? And you detest Lamar Jackson. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? But can you give us your predictions maybe on this particular game right here? The Browns at the Ravens.
Well, I don't know, I don't accept the fact that you're a Texas native and you're residing in Texas right now.
I'm not. I'm not.
Why you would try to intimate to the listeners that I don't like Baltimore. I like Baltimore. I respect Baltimore, and I certainly respect Lamar Jackson. However, if you're asking me, I'm telling you straight what's about to happen right now. Dog pound for life. It's go Brownie.
Oh, whoa.
And this is the Sunday that it begins. I think that our quarterback has gotten his balance. He'll be ready now to perform as he's supposed to within the team concept. I think the team is ready. The fellas are ready. Odell is embarrassed and ready. We're ready. The team's ready to go.
I just hope
something to show. We got something to prove.
I just hope Odell don't play like doo-doo. Sorry, I had to say it. Yeah. But a sidebar.
That's a very low blow coming from a cowboy.
I'm just saying, yippee-ki-yay. On a side note, right quick, do we think that this first week, the NFL games will be sort of Rust Belt-like or Rusty or Rusties? We all seen the movie Cars, right? A sponsored Rusties. Given that there were no preseason games at all? Gully?
Absolutely. What we're going to see is what we saw when the NBA resumed. These games are going to be the first time these guys have had some real action. And after such a long and unfamiliar, peculiar type of off season or start of the season. So I don't take anything. I will only say, only consistency will tell you what we were actually experiencing. I don't think that teams that will start out, hot on the first 4 weeks, I don't think that would be an anomaly. I think that would be a test or an indicator that those teams were going to be ready, whether the season started normally or not. But if a team, sputters out the gate, even the Browns, for as inconsistent as they've been for the last few years, even if they were to sputter out of the gate, I don't know that it's a mark of how inept or whatnot these teams are. So it's just, and if you wanted football to be back, here you go. But don't blame the
don't
cook
expect
if
good
you
football.
want it to
Basically,
yield.
if anything, you should expect maybe some bad football from just about everybody. Before I get to Double J and Brother Rich, let me just send the call number out here again. The area code is 267-687-0026. Once again, that number is area code 267-687-0026. Yes, and as always, the Shop Report, of course, is powered by none other than Rocket Digital Media, the one-stop shop for all your digital marketing needs. Double J, with no preseason games, are we expecting FanDuel and DraftKings to be lit up on the first week, or let's say first couple of weeks? Or do you expect to see some rusties?
Oh, yeah, you got to bring the WD-40 out with you. I don't care who it is.
Even for the Browns?
Very lopsided.
Even for the Browns? You got to bring some WD-40 out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What?
Yeah, because, again, they say it time and time again. There's no type of experience like game experience. Like the speed,
true that.
Everything, we may unfortunately even be faced with a plague of injury. Because we don't
say
know,
that.
Again, we haven't seen a whole lot into these training camps, especially when you're taking things into consideration, when it comes to the virus protocols and things of that nature. So absolutely, I would say the Browns can steal this game. However.
No, with all that talent they got on that roster, should they win that game, that's not a stealing. No. They took it, Brother Rich, with no preseason games. I mean, what are you expecting from this first week of the NFL season?
I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go a little different from the panel here.
Oh boy,
here's why?
Why am I not surprised?
No, here's why.
Okay,
here's why. I believe we're going to see a better grade of football than we're expecting because there was no preseason.
What?
Here's why. Football, unique from any other sport, is practice play. And so if you practice because of the nature of the game, when you go on the field live action and it's time to really hit, you can really give because you're really going at it full steam ahead and full speed. Now, what we'll see is what the degree to which the teams themselves have prepped. But as far as the action on the field, I think we're going to see some better football than we expect because the guys are not hurt. They didn't have to go through a preseason where they were trying to avoid being injured, so they were kind of going halfway, and so they weren't really going through. They were really going through sped up practices. Now they've been practicing hard, and now they can go live contact, and now they know this Sunday it's going for real. They've been anticipating. They've been looking forward to playing, and they themselves are playing in the bubble. You may see some individual slip-ups because you'll see, like we saw in the NBA bubble, you see the light camera action. Now we're getting ready to see people up close and personal. Is that individual player ready? We're looking at him closer. But as far as the football itself, I think it'll be better than we anticipate.
That's a good take on that because you actually kind of speaking to what I've heard people in certain sports circles, when they talk about the NFL in the preseason, when it was folks was up in arm about whether or not if they should cut the games from 4 to 2 and so on and so forth. And I've heard some players say, the preseason games, even though the starters of course don't play, a lot of minutes, but maybe in the first 2 games, so to speak. I've heard some players say that they wouldn't mind 2, but they said 4 was too much. So it saves some wear and tear on the body. I'm with you on that. But Double J, your take on the Browns at the Ravens? Or did I come to you already? No, we went to Brother Rich first, didn't we?
Well,
okay.
Yeah, we talked about the yeah.
All right. There's senility. I have to have a moment. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. But go ahead.
But yeah, again, I'm going to take this first week as always with a grain of salt. I think the Browns have everything to gain from this game, and the Ravens have everything to lose. The expectations, thankfully, this year are with Baltimore and not Cleveland. So the shoe is on the other foot, so to speak. And because of that, and some other motivating factors involved, as we have touched on this evening, I believe that Cleveland should have their head on straight this year.
And you know what was interesting? You saying that, I knew that, but it did not come back to mind until you just said that. Once upon a time, early on throughout my podcasting career, I might say, Herm and I were on the phone having a conversation, of course, about the Ravens and Ozzie Newsome in particular, and how he's managed to, draft certain players in certain rounds and guys, that you wouldn't think of, to the degree of you got to be a good grocery shopper, so to speak. But in conversation with the Ravens, of course, we talked about used to be the Browns and so on and so forth. And I asked him at that particular time, like, why is it whenever, and at one point it was Cleveland teams, period. Why is it that when the Cleveland teams were the headlines read or they were expected to do well, they never did? When they weren't expected to do well, they always did. Makes absolutely no sense. And I say that in part because you all are not old enough to remember this. You either, Brother Rich. You only 34. I'm the oldest one in the bunch here. That's why I can, have senile moments. I'm allowed. I got an AARP card. Anywho, Sports Illustrated had Corey Snyder of the Indians on the cover. The following year, after the previous year, the Indians, I forget what their record was or whatever the case may be. Sports Illustrated was ranting and raving about the Indians. Oh, they're going to be. And Corey Snyder wasn't a bad player. Man, I cannot tell you what they did, the Indians, that year in terms of their record. When you get a chance, go look it up. Oh, my gosh, was it awful. Awful. But now when you don't expect them, again, it would seem to be with all Cleveland teams except the Cleveland Force and the Cleveland Crunch, which, by the way, my two soccer aficionados lend no credence to indoor soccer being a professional sport, but that's another topic for another day. Gully.
None.
Yeah, I know, Brother Rich. Hey, don't hate on Kai Hoskovy or Hector Marinero or Otto Orff. Legendary. Gully, your take on the Browns at the Ravens. You don't think the Ravens got some get back in their mind? Think they circled the calendar?
It starts week one. The Ravens went on to have a surprising year considering they lost the way that they did to the Browns. And the Browns went on to have a surprising year considering that they beat the Ravens the way they beat the Ravens. So
typical Browns, though.
Right? And I think if there's any curse in Cleveland sports, it's the curse of expectations. So that being said, I really think that I expect the spirited showing from the Browns, but I don't know what I don't have a compelling reason other than fandom to pick against the Ravens in week one.
I'll tell you what, word out of training camp. And again, this came from my man that played with him. And when he pointed it out, I started paying more or closer attention to it, however you want to say that. Here in Cleveland, this is a Browns town, always has been, always will be. I'm telling you right now, the Cavs could have won 15 finals. The Browns could have not won, just went to one Super Bowl. They would have burnt this city down. And, Brother Rich, you know that from being in Cleveland for that period of time that you was here. But, well, I'll save that. I'll save that for a little bit. I'll say that for a little bit later. I'll say this. With Myles Garrett, no, I won't save it. What Herm said to me then, people here, I'm saying this part. people here rant and rave whenever the Browns get to Berea and training camp, and all the fans are allowed to attend or whatnot. He said, "Man, you see a guy." Now this is him saying this. "Man, you see a guy flying around in shorts, with no pads on and just the helmets, and the guy be looking good, and the fans be going ballistic. Oh, that guy gonna be a Hall of Famer. Blah 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 blah." He said, "But that ain't the time to tell what a guy gonna be." He said, "It's when they put them pads on." And word out of camp this year, with the pads on, Myles Garrett ain't nothing to play with. Did you hear what I said? They said Myles Garrett.
Go Brown.
Listen,
Dog pound.
and I
dog pound.
and you
said dog pound.
Yeah.
Okay,
dog pound. But who started the bark? Who started the dog pound? Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon. Oh, by the way, I've been watching past playoff games. You all need to go look at that 1985 AFC divisional game, the Browns against the Dolphins. Yeah, the Dolphins won, but I'm trying to tell you, you'll see why I love that Browns team, Webster Slaughter and them, so on and so forth. But they say Myles has been so, I'm talking about in pads now, so aggressive, so on it, that they couldn't even put their number one pick on his side. They didn't want him to get embarrassed. Jedrick Wills, the guy from Alabama, go look it up. Stefanski said no. He came up with a good political answer. Oh, we didn't put him over there because we feel like, we're working him in slowly, yada, 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 the company line. No, Myles, I had a few phone calls. They said if they let fans in the stadium this year, I'm going 10 times to one game is what one guy told me. He said, I'll pay for the first ticket, I'll leave, and I'll come back right in and cut through the fence. I said, man, you come. He said, I can't do that. But he said, but I'm just saying, if I could watch that Myles Garrett 10 times, I'm going. He said, man, they say Myles is, ooh-wee. They said Myles is tearing it up. They say Myles is tearing it up. They can't block him. They can't block him. Stefanski had to pull his mask off once or twice. Get over here! What the hell's going on? I'm trying to tell you. They can't block him, man. This is Myles Garrett I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, they say Myles is eating it. He tearing it up so bad in camp that Olivier Vernon, another Hurricane. I'm not such a fan of the Canes that I'm not going to tell you the truth about them. That's just not how I do. They say Olivier and them was like, okay, yeah, we're going to need to step our game up this year. Because Myles going to embarrass everybody. I'm letting you know that now. And when they play the Steelers, y'all better be front and center. Because Myles got a message that he wants to deliver personally. That's all I'm saying. Anywho, in our last of the 3 games that are must-see TV, the new-look Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding New Orleans Saints. We know that now, right? We all know what the story is surrounding the Drew Brees and the so on and so forth. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have you seen on paper? So my question to the panel, and Gully, we'll start with you on this one, is can the Tampa Bay new-look Buccaneers and Tom Brady have somewhat of a rebirth or a return to the days of the Warren Sapps and so on and so forth? I mean, my goodness. And I'm not saying because of the defense per se, but I'm just saying the Buccaneers. I mean, my goodness. And Bruce Arians, what's going on over there?
Yeah, when you compile that level of talent that year that quickly, normally it's done in free agency and it's done, like the Washington Redskins, the way they try to do it. You try to buy a lot of talent and then hodgepodge it together to make it successful. The 2015 or 14 or 13 Philadelphia Eagles, Michael Vick and Vince Young and Nnamdi Asomugha, those guys, they came together and it was a cluster and it's a big failure. That doesn't work when you don't have the coaching and the mindset of players that are there and committed to doing everything it takes to win. And I think they do it the right way in a sense. All that talent together with a coach like Bruce Arians being led by a guy who in 20 years, Tom Brady with a point to prove, it's very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. I don't see any reason why they're not a favorite to win their division, to win a first-round bye, to go to a Super Bowl, or be the team to beat. I really like what I think I see, what I see out of them.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Double J, the new-look Buccaneers.
Yes, sir.
How will they fare against the Saints, in your estimation? And what does that say if they do well and they win and whatnot, about the Bucs, that is? What does that say about them for the rest of the season, in your opinion?
I think this game specifically has the biggest shootout potential. Normally, I save those for the Atlanta Saints games. You can look back in history at what those score lines were. The reason why I say that, if it turns out to be anything opposite of that statement there, it will actually be because of Tampa's defense, which is going to be the unsung hero of this team this year. I get it. We want to say that Brady's going to look like Elway and Manning and Kurt Warner in the year 2000. It's just not going to happen. This is the best receiving core he's ever had. And so I have no problem going on record and saying that. But again, inevitably, he might have his AARP card already at his Tampa residence.
Oh, really?
So you have to be realistic.
Really? Yeah. I you don't even understand why Brother Richard is laughing at that, because you're gonna say AARP card. That was a slighted at Barbershop J, and I'm talking in the fourth person here, not the third, the fourth. Really, Double J? Seriously? That's how we doing it here today on the show? Okay, gotcha. I mean, I understand your point. You know what I mean? Sounds to me like you just don't like Tom Brady. Is that what that is?
Not at all. If you recall, on the same program.
Thank you very much for saying that correctly.
I was the one who had said it was Brady, not Belichick, or the quote-unquote system, which you seem to always love in favor of the system.
I'm not in favor. I'm not in favor of the system. And in the case of Brady and Belichick, I said it's a combination of both.
You sure give it a lot of credit.
Well, I mean, I give Tex Winter all the credit.
Andy Reid, Bill Belichick.
I give Tex Winter all the credit.
Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah. Ozzie, you mean the guy
Tex
who...
Winter shot them jump shots? Tex Winter shot them jump shots that Kobe and Mike and them put up?
Yeah, but Tex
Winter did that.
No. But he installed the triangle offense that Phil Jackson get credit for.
The question is, who... Yeah, but the triangle has existed, but unless when it didn't have Kobe or Michael in it, it wasn't effective for anybody else. But them two, Ron, uniquely.
But guess what though? How great were Kobe and Shaq under Dale Harris? Okay, I'm saying.
No doubt.
So it's a combination of both. That's all I'm getting at. It's a combination of both. That's just how I see it. I ain't saying anybody got to see it how I see it. I just say it's a combination of both. You know what I mean?
How well did the triangle work in New York without Kobe and MJ?
I don't know.
How well did it work for Phil in New York?
About as well as Phil did sitting in the front office. My bad. No different than my race car analogy, but that's fine. But yeah, I get it, Double J. You saying Tom Brady's gonna go 5-11? Is that what you're driving at here? That where you're going?
No. Again, truthfully, I believe 11-5. And again, the reason for it is the combination of the entire roster. So again, you talked about, you have guys like McCoy, speaking of Kansas City. You have Leonard Fournette now, who has gone on record within the last day and said he finally has a quarterback. Of course, you have the tandem of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You have Rob Gronkowski, who is going to be, next to oxygen, full of CBD, which is now legal in the league.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? While we at it, while we at it, by the way, shout out to my man Josh Gordon for getting what is this now? His 16th opportunity in the NFL. Who's we with? The Seahawks even, I think? Ooh, yikes. Woo. We hadn't really said much about them, but they will come up within I'm sure the Seahawks will be one of our games as we go on throughout the season. But yeah, kudos to my man Josh Gordon. Yeah, I just happen to like Josh Gordon. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you. I 11-5 sounds about right. Oh, but I will ask this though about the Bucs and Leonard Fournette. You mentioned, of course, just a few seconds ago. I don't even want to say in this offense, but paired with Tom Brady, let's say it like that, because he did say he finally got a quarterback. Will he be the Fournette that wowed us, or will he be paired with Tom Brady, what Corey Dillon was in New England? Double J.
I think he's going to be the Fournette of old. This team gives me Arizona Cardinals vibe when the old ball coach was over there, and that's why I conveniently had mentioned Kurt Warner.
Okay.
And so, although you know Larry Fitzgerald is Larry Fitzgerald, and there will never be another one. The tandem, just that wide receiver trio that they have, again, tight end, basically all skill positions, and then, of course, defensively. And that's why I'm going to keep mentioning this now. It's going to be overlooked, but their overall effectiveness from an analytics standpoint will be the difference. Because if you look at the rest of that division, whether it's, of course, New Orleans, who can easily put up a ton of points. You're going to look at a much more motivated Atlanta team that now has Todd Gurley as well. So these are no slouch of in-division rivals, so to speak. And then, of course, you have, Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. So there's going to be no easy wins here. But ultimately, I believe they're a playoff team and that the defense will be the reason really for their success, but it will get overlooked by the masses.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But when you mention Atlanta in that division, Matt Ryan, without Kyle Shanahan, Matt Ryan is Boston College. Sorry. No offense, Matt. He just ain't looked the same. He just ain't looked the same since Kyle Shanahan left. But we'll see. And then
that's disrespectful, Barbershop. That is just disrespectful.
Well,
I can't believe you did Matty like that. That is just. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I am, but I'm not. I'm just saying. Don't and listen. You want to talk about somebody who jumped out of the plane at 50,000 feet with no parachute? Believe me, if you go to the barbershop, ask Twin in particular what I said about Brian Hoyer when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator here. Oh, my gosh. They gave me the business with 2 Ds, 3 E's, and triple S's. Okay? That's all I'm telling you. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't live it down. He ain't nothing but a backup. Sit down. You lost your debate card. Oh, man, they took all my cards. They took my credit card. They took my AARP card that day. I got all my cards snatched and didn't even get my wallet back till after 5. But anyway, so Brother Rich, what do you see in this new look Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Saints matchup? And to you again, as well as I said to Double J, with the Bucs and Brady, and we didn't mention Gronk going forward for the rest of the season.
I see Jordan with the Washington Wizards with a better team around him.
Also,
and I see a wise old man, a wise old general getting ready to lead the troops on the field for one last battle. This is it for him. He knows it. I think this is why that team has gone all out to get every piece that they could possibly get. I think that's why every player wants to go there. They have no shortages of free agents interested in going there. There'll be more interest as the season progresses. And you look at they're playing in the perfect environment for Tom Brady's age. He's not in the cold anymore of New England.
That's
He's
a good point.
taken fantastic care of himself. And with that defense, as Double J pointed out to us, we know that defense wins games. It will not require of him to put up 30 or 40 points to win. So we look for his wisdom, his experience, his
veteran
winning
leadership
way in the locker room,
his
veteran leadership to translate on the team, on the pitch, on the field, for us to see them perhaps surprise a whole lot of folks and not surprise some people at all.
I appreciate you throwing out the pitch, quote unquote. That's a soccer term for all you non-soccer folks out there. See, I knew that much. Can I? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, Double J, where you? I didn't hear you on that one. Can't get no credit for recognizing the pitch. See what I'm saying? Yeah, it's discriminatory on this program today.
There was a virtual tip of the cap.
Oh, please. Oh, really? Seriously? You mean like one of the virtual fans in the bubble? Somebody, yeah, got you. All right, yeah, And then, last but not least, I will finish it off and say I'm in agreement with everybody in regards to the Bucs. I'm more interested in seeing how Gronk holds up. I think the time off that he took always does a body good when you're playing the NFL. And again, I just cannot, for the life of me, understand why people are so quick to point out, not in his case, but just NFL injuries. When that expression, oh, he can't stay on the field, that bothers me. That bothers me. I'm like, you say that with no consideration to the sport. I mean, it's like saying when they testing cars, you know, to see the crash safety factor, you know, oh, that dummy just can't stay. He keep falling out of the seat. Yeah, it's smashing in the wall to I mean, how thick is the wall that those cars smash into? 10 feet thick? I mean, that's what it's like. Even though the game of football and sports in general has changed, you know, and the rules have made it more favorable to the offenses or whatnot, football is just an exception. NFL football, you still got to hit somebody. Okay, so I want to see how Gronk performs. I just really do. I really, really do, because I think that guy, I don't think he'll be a safety blanket. I think he'll really be a cog, and I don't mean that as a bog down, so to speak, but I think he'll be a nice little piece in that offense. And then Bruce Arians, he got a pretty good offensive mind as well, you know, I think. But Double J, let me ask you right quick. Who was the coach? Who was the coach when the Cardinals went to the Super Bowl with Kurt Warner? It was Ken Whisenhunt, wasn't it?
Yes,
That's
Ken
correct.
Whisenhunt.
Yeah, okay.
It was just the coordinator.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, Ken Whisenhunt. All right, good stuff on the NFL, fellas. Even though we went a little longer in the tooth than I expected, but that's fine. This stuff is always good. You know, our conversations are always good. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to join us for the second half of the P-Program, looks like we're going to be going for about 5 hours a day, but that's none other when the content is good. It goes as it should. The number to call is area code 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. And as always, the Shop Report is powered by none other than Rocket Digital Media. It's the one-stop shop for all of your digital marketing needs. All right, let's turn our attention to, or should I say this next one comes to us from the world of boxing. You all ready for this? Maybe not. Check this out. My brother, or one of my brothers rather, sent me this list from the Pugilist, the pugilistmag.co.uk. So I'm guessing this is from the UK, or somebody put this list together from the UK. I don't know that for certain, but anyway, we all know who the Pugilist publication. And when I say my brother sent it to me, let me clarify that. My family and I are in a WhatsApp chat thing, right? My brothers weigh in sometimes, my sisters, my mother, my stepfather, so on and so forth. We all go back and forth in this WhatsApp chat. My brother posted this list in the family WhatsApp chat. And then my other brother, the one we had on the program, the doctor in New York, he and my brother Russ and I started going back and forth about this list. So let me read to you all The 50 greatest boxers of all time that the Pugilist lists. And who they have number one is what really kind of stirred up the controversy. And I say the list has some merit. But again, as I went through the list, of course, I disagree with where some of these guys were ranked or what have you. But number one, Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, I will remind you all, Gully, you weren't here for it, but I asked Double J and Brother Rich, as I go through the list, I'm going to read the list, just kind of, if you would, commit to memory. When I mention the guy's name and the number where they listed at, if you have a issue with where it's at, just kind of commit to memory, then we'll go back over whoever you all had a question about, so to speak. So let me go through the list. Number one, Sugar Ray Robinson. Number two, Muhammad Ali. Number three, Henry Armstrong. Number four, Harry Greb. Number five, Joe Louis. 6, Willie Pep, P-E-P, Pep. Number 7, Sam Langford. Number 8, Jack Johnson. Number 9, Roberto Durand. Number 10, Sugar Ray Leonard. 11, Manny Pacquiao. 12, Benny Leonard. 13, Jack Dempsey. 14, Roy Jones Jr. 15, George Foreman. 16, Marvin Hagler. 17, Lennox Lewis. 18, Julio Cesar Chavez. 19, Thomas Hearns. 20, Ezzard Charles. If y'all don't know who Ezzard Charles is, you need to look him up. 21, Joe Gans, G-A-N-S. 22, Evander Holyfield. 23, Archie Moore. 24, Jimmy Wilde, W-I-L-D-E. 25, Mickey Walker. Him I'm not familiar with. 26, Larry Holmes. 27, Gene Tooney. That's T-U-N-N-E-Y. 28, Stanley Ketchel, K-E-T-C-H-E-L. I'm not familiar with him either. 29, Jimmy McLaren. That's M-C-L-A-R-N-I-N. Not McLaren, but McLaren. 30, Bernie Ross. 31, Joe Frazier. All right, don't say nothing, Brother Rich. 32, Jake LaMotta. 33, Tony Canzoneri. 34 is Marcel Cerdan, C-E-R-D-A-N. And at 33, I'll go back to Canzoneri, C-A-N-Z-O-N-E-R-I. 35, Jose Napoles, N-A-P-O-L-E-S. 36 is Emil Griffith. 37, Oscar De La Hoya. 38, Salvador Sanchez. 39, Floyd Mayweather Jr. 40, Rocky Marciano. I can hear Brother Rich now.
Hey, can the record note that I'm already vehemently, I can't use the words, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I said what I said about Brother Rich, because he's vehemently too. What did I say? 40, Rocky Marciano. 41 is Carlos Monzon, M-O-N-Z-O-N. I'm not familiar with him either. 42 is Alexis Arguello. 43, Marco Antonio Barrera. 44, Pernell Whitaker. 45, Bernard the Executioner Hopkins. 46, Eric Morales. 47, Sandy Sadler, S-A-D-D-L-E-R. 48, Juan Manuel Marquez. 49, Mike Tyson. And 50, Aaron Pryor. Now, here are the few that he listed that are missing, who I thought should have been on the list. For one, Wilfred Benitez. Nicolino Loche, L-O-C-C-H-E. Joe Calzaghe. Bob Fitzsimmons, Ricardo Lopez, Ruben Oliveras, Kid Gavilan, Mickey Ward, Arturo Gotti, Terrence Crawford. Brother Rich, do you want me to come to you first, or do you want me to go to
I'll let you go to everybody else first, because, I'm only going one place, so let them go. I heard that my brother in Columbus is the he's ready to go. So let him go ahead.
Okay, Gully, we'll start with you. Who do you have an issue with on this list? And is there any
Floyd Mayweather Jr. being at 39 is the biggest act of slander. The fact that I didn't hear him in the top 10, okay, that's fine. You can make an argument. I'm not even going to fault the idea that there are several names on this list that I'm unfamiliar with, because boxing is a long storied sport. So I would take that some of those names that I did not mention are from an era that I did not see. I do know of Willie Pep. Him being number 6, I have no problem with, if not higher. I actually showed my son some of his footage the other day. His boxing style, his defensive acumen is. It should be. It can be implemented today at any fighter, any weight class, to devastating effects. Why is Bernard Hopkins not in the top 40?
Yeah, that's
why is Mike Tyson 49?
Yeah, I had an issue with that too.
Where? Okay.
But let me stop you.
Okay.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you right quick, just to say this. We all know that some things are subjective, right? Okay, the list is subjective,
right?
But to your point, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather, whether you subjective or not, that makes absolutely no doggone sense. Okay, continue.
I don't need to go any further. I mean, this tells me that I should never ever look at anybody saying the greatest of, like you said, all time. I don't care what list it is. There's never an all-time list that should ever be considered anything. This proves it. This makes no earthly sense. There is no reason why Oscar De La Hoya should be ranked anywhere ahead of Floyd Mayweather Jr. in any facet of the sport of boxing. None whatsoever.
Nah, I'm
gonna leave it there.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. If for no other reason, people will say because Floyd beat Oscar. That ain't why I would say. Because of what Felix Sturm did to Oscar De La Hoya. I've seen a lot of robbery in the sport of boxing.
Did to Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, well, we know what Sweet Pea did. But I'm saying, I'm just Felix Sturm. This boxing and robbery go hand in hand, right? Over the years. But what Felix Sturm did to De La Hoya, from start to finish, with all due respect to Sweet Pea, he was one of my favorites. And even with Floyd, I don't recall either of them doing to De La Hoya what Sturm did. Sturm beat the brakes off of De La Hoya from start to finish. I don't know how you scored it when you saw it. Did you see the fight, Gully?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, but I know
we already knew it was in place. See, the idea of it is that fight happened when every preamble to that fight talked about the September bout between Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins. That was that happened. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You knew clearly that the only reason they gave it to him because the monies had already been in for De La Hoya to fight Bernard Hopkins. Other than that, oh my goodness. Double J. Before I come to you, Double J, let me point out something to you right quick about boxing. When my brothers and I were going back and forth with this, talking about this list or whatnot, I happened to look something up because within the thread, my one brother who made the post in the chat, he and I were going back and forth about the gloves. And he was saying gloves were heavier back in the day. During the Jack Johnsons and so on. I said, no, they were not. They were lighter. So he and I, we were going back and forth. So I looked something up on The Guardian, which is a pretty accurate reference site, if you would. Give me a second here. I just want to read this to you all right quick because I didn't know this. Some guy named Oliver Irish posted this, actually in 2002, from the Observer Sport Monthly that was The Guardian posted. The modern glove was invented in 1743, the brainchild of Englishman Jack Broughton, Broughton. Give me a second here. I'm skipping along. Bear with me, because we were talking about the weight of the gloves. Oh, and the rounds. Bear with me. I thought I was right on it. I think it's here. Sorry. Oh, yes. Gloves became mandatory when the Marquis of Queensberry rules were drafted in 1865 and officially adopted in 1892. Mostly, the gloves would be skin tight rather than padded and only weighing 2 ounces. Can you imagine a guy like Mike Tyson wearing 2-ounce gloves? Can you imagine that? 2 ounces?
Yeah, and a lot of blood and a lot of beaten flesh.
Skin-tight gloves remained popular until the turn of the century. The last 2-ounce bout took place on the 22nd of May, 1903, between Jimmy Briggs and Tony Daly, whoever those two guys are. But here's something else I wanted to point out. The fighter who did the most to popularize gloves was American heavyweight John L. Sullivan, who fought the first ever gloved heavyweight championship contest against James J. Corbett on September 7th, 1892. He also fought the last ever bare-knuckle heavyweight bout against Jake Kilrain in 1889. Sullivan and Corbett both wore 5-ounce gloves for the contest, which Corbett won by knockout in the 21st round. I didn't even know until I looked this up that they used to go 20 rounds in boxing. I knew in the day Ali and them dudes, they went 15. 20 rounds in boxing? Are you kidding me? But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. There was just a little history lesson for all my boxing fans out there. But Double J, let's go back to the list. What say you about the list?
Well, from a modern standpoint, at first glance of this, you would be disgusted. You may want to take a sip of a very strong beverage and strongly question where and whom the creators of said list were and what they were watching. However, I think the points that you just brought up will give a whole lot of context into why the list was created in the manner that it was. What this list was really meant to embody was not a pound per pound best ever or GOAT, but who deserves the most credit or value for the environment that they fought in. So you look at guys like Harry Greep, who died, I think he was like in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And you talk about the weight of the gloves, the length of the fight, and knowing that this guy boxing in the early 19th century was not only a champion in multiple weight classes, but fought nearly 300 times with those types of rounds, gives you a whole lot of context. Now, as not to take anything away from Mike Tyson, who absolutely, if you were to go survey 50 random boxing fans, would have never made it outside of the top 25, and that's being cynical because of that. So in those contexts, these guys had to have taken into consideration the amount of fights that these folks were participated in, outweighed more than just a win-loss record.
Yeah, because I mean, I go back over the list and see, and that's why I'm glad I looked at. Like I said, I'm glad I looked that up because it did kind of give me a little bit of different perspective on the list and where guys were placed at on the list. But I still say Mike Tyson should be higher than 49. He should be higher than 49. Do you have, well, the thing that kind of,
right?
Yeah, he should be way higher than 49. But the thing that kind of set things off and why my brothers and I were kind of going back and forth is who was at 1 and 2. Dave's like, man, there ain't no list that could be made and Muhammad Ali ain't number 1. I said, man, but if you know Sugar Ray Robinson, and that part of it, and again, I'm asking for you all, whether you agree or not, I'm asking for you all to weigh in. That's that 1 and 2. If you know Sugar Ray Robinson, I said to my brothers, I said, man, but a case could be made for why Sugar Ray Robinson is number 1. But Brother Rich, we're gonna come to you. I mean, what do you take from this list? Or in particular,
Well, I'm not going to start.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to start from the top. I'm going to go exactly where you pointed us to. The list sounds like the same for people that made the list, where Kobe Bryant, God rest his beautiful soul, is not put as one of the top 10 players of all time. And even NBA players have, modern day players wonder, how can you have a list of the top 10 players of all time and Kobe Bryant is not mentioned? Now, I won't even mention where I personally rate Kobe Bryant as it relates to basketball. When I hear a list of boxers and Mike Tyson is not in the top 10 of boxers, top 15 of boxers of all time, Mike Tyson is a man who in our generation, in our lifetime, we saw grown men in their locker room shivering like children, afraid.
Yeah.
We saw a grown man stand across the ring from him and look across, and when he was asked by the announcer, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? He says, I'm going to do my best. And the gentleman walked in the ring and literally collapsed within less than 90 seconds. We saw this. We saw Mike Tyson in his ferocity and the fact that we all, if we study Mike Tyson's life, we have to admit that he is a fighter who, at the passing of his mentor and his being put and given over the control of his reins of his life to his ultimate nemesis, Don King. Don King ruined that young man. Don King and his success and the fact that he did not stay on course. But if Mike Tyson had stayed on course, he certainly would have gone down as perhaps the greatest heavyweight of all time, notwithstanding the great work that Muhammad Ali put on, that we saw him as little children and we grew up with him and we saw him become this iconic figure and outgrow even his boxing life. We saw another Floyd Mayweather to disrespect Floyd Mayweather, like Gully pointed out to us, and put him so low on the listing. This is ridiculous. Whoever put this together should be banished from making any list. This is when you set this up. This is one of those things. I thought it was ridiculous. It's as silly as the you and your cowboy love. It's ridiculous.
Wait a minute. What, brother? What, really? What I got to do with this? I'm just the paper boy, man. I just deliver. So don't be mad at the guy. I DoorDash. I just brought the food to you. It ain't my fault that the pizza they had no pepperoni on it. I ain't got nothing to do with that. Why, really? You felt that was the moment to mention?
You were eating the fries. I don't want to hear it.
I said the pizza. Who orders fries with pizza? You see what I'm saying? You all are so heck bent on trashing me that you don't put one with the other. The two things don't go together, man. You can't eat hot dogs with...
You put pineapple on it, didn't you?
Oh, heck no. Oh, are you seriously? We got to have a show about that. Don't, please. Let us not. Are you serious? Yeah, right. Okay, you eat anchovies on your Subway sandwich. Anywho, there was no call for that, Brother Rich. I'm offended at it. You know what I'm saying? That you would make a Dallas reference to ridiculous. Really? Wow, Brother Rich. That's okay. You're fired. Do you have an issue? Do either of you have an issue? And unfortunately, I just want to let folks out there know Gully had to. He just texted me. He had to sign off. I appreciate him joining in for the short bit of time he was. I know we were a little long in the tooth, but we had to get this one in. So I'm glad you all are still here with me. But, yep, shout out to my man Gully. But do you either of you all have an issue with Sugar Ray Robinson being at 1 and Ali at 2? Because that's where all of the fire started. No, you don't? You say no, Brother Rich?
No, because Ali didn't have an issue with
Sugar Ray Robinson. Thank
Ali
you.
Respected and honored his legacy.
Thank you. Thank you. What about you, Double J?
I'm going to agree that I don't really see an issue with it either. Again, given the rationale that least I was able to whip up in my own mind
Yeah.
as to what these folks were using as their scorecard.
Yeah.
It even furthers that point.
Okay, but I got a couple more questions. One, and I'll tell you the name, and then I'll go back to the number where they're at. Do you have an issue? Joe Louis was at 5. Henry Greb, I'm familiar with. Henry Armstrong, I'm not. Henry Armstrong was at 3. I said Henry. Sorry. Henry Armstrong was at 3. Harry Greb was at 4. Joe Louis was at 5. Do you think that Joe Louis should have been at 3 behind Robinson and Ali, Brother Rich?
Yes.
I think so
Yes.
too. I think so too. What about you, Double J?
Yeah, again, they're looking at the fact Armstrong only lost one match, if memory serves me correct. So, do I believe Joe Louis should be ahead of him? Yeah.
But that's a tough call. That's why I say you gotta go back. That's why I read that little history lesson right quick. You know what I mean? We factor in. We always talk about the degree of difficulty in determining or weighing a lot when we talk about greatness. Yes, the individual by himself can be.
And just briefly, Barbershop, the reason of the rationale of why it should be switched is because I think they're overvaluing, like in the case of Armstrong, because I went to go look it up, because I knew, generally when you're watching and characterizing these and generating a list, you're evaluating it under the circumstances of these folks, quote unquote, prime. You're not thinking about the bad years. You're not thinking about Montana when he was in Kansas City.
Right.
You're thinking of him while he was
in his prime,
in San
so
Francisco.
to speak. Yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely. So you're ignoring that Henry Armstrong had a total of 21 losses. And you're more so thinking of it in the context of that 4-year span where he was 27-0 or 59-1-1, throughout those 4 years.
Yeah.
Then under those circumstances, sure, you can say, okay, I'll put him at 3 versus Joe Louis at 5. But
right.
If you were to say who had the longer run, and this is where, again, I think these folks are looking at it as these guys, the way that somebody today would be sparring, these guys were really going 20 rounds. So it's very tough to tell. But again, this brings up old NBA versus today BA and who the better athlete is and a whole plethora of other things.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, this is one of those sports where it's very, very difficult to truly say, without it taking place and unfolding in front of you.
Yeah. I'm actually, I don't agree in totality, of course, with the list, but I do think the list has some merit. I think it's one worth discussing. That's why we're here. That's why we went over with our time limit, so to speak, that we had all agreed upon, because I think it's that intriguing. You know what I mean? Because there's so many we can agree on and so many we disagree on. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's a good list. Now, where everybody's at is where, of course, the conundrum, so to speak, comes in, or the disagreement. But the names on the list, my goodness, I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, man, I'm going over like, wow, can you put this guy here? Can you put that guy there? I'm actually somewhat impressed by somebody actually even trying to do this list, because again, now remember, there were some missing, and the ones missing were fans who had seen the list and made comment to the Pugilist. You know what I mean? Because Wilford Benitez, out of the ones missing, he could definitely be on the list. Where you might put him at, I couldn't say. But Benitez was a different type of dude. And then maybe Joe Calzaghe. And if for no other reason, I didn't really do any research on him, but I heard he's pretty good. Kid Gavlin, I know who he is, but I couldn't really go in depth about him. But his name comes up a lot. When I used to listen to Burt Sugar, talk about boxing histories and so on and so forth. But the two that kind of stood out to me was Mickey Ward and Arturo Gotti. And these are these are two of the ones that were left off the list. Can you recall in our lifetimes a better, regardless of weight class now, a better a better trilogy off the top of your head? The Mickey Ward, Arturo Gotti trilogy. I mean, it's one of them. It's a
true.
The trilogy alone. Right. I think these two dudes should be on the list, somewhere on the list. Again, I don't know where you would put them. You know, I mentioned a few guys who names I'm not familiar with, but I wouldn't put, of course, Gotti and Ward maybe in those spots. You know, the Gene Tuneys, the 27. Or Mickey Walker or Jimmy Wild at 24, Mickey Walker, of course, at 25. I'm not saying Gotti and Ward should go there because you got Larry Holmes, you know, at 26, Joe Frazier at 31. And by the way, do you all think Joe Frazier should be higher than 31? Anybody?
I would put him higher than 31. Any list I'm making, I would put him higher.
Yeah.
Because again, that's Joe Frazier. He fought. He's a fighter.
Yeah.
We're talking about the sweet science.
Yeah.
How do you eliminate Joe Frazier from the competition and the conversation? When, in particular, remember, Frazier fought in the era where he was fighting the best of the best because he really had to fight. He fought Ken Norton.
Yeah.
He fought Ali numerous times.
Yeah.
He fought everybody that was there. He fought George Foreman. He fought everybody that was there. He fought his way out of Philadelphia. He came up in a time where Philadelphia, you had to fight your way
out.
There was real boxing going on there.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And that's why.
You know, I'm gonna double down on that because that brings up a very valid point about the depth of that particular weight class, and of course, when you're looking at somebody like Chavez as an example, senior, the knock on him is he was fighting, you know, farmers, you know, rather than boxers.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you look at somebody like Joe, that's a perfect example of him being at 31. And it's like, well, he was fighting nothing but quality opponents, or great ones at that.
Yeah.
And so it's very, I don't know, it's very complex.
It is.
And the rationale for that list, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, me too. I would. And the list intrigued me because of the names that are on it. I was like, man, some of these, like I said, some of the guys I hadn't heard of. Some of the guys, when I looked at the list, my recollection of them came back. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm still kind of stuck on the Gotti and Ward. I can't recall. Well, did Ali help me out, Brother Rich? Did Ali and Frazier, did they have a trilogy? I think they did, didn't they?
They fought.
I know they fought twice.
They had a trilogy. They sure did.
Yeah, they did.
They had a trilogy. They sure did. They sure did. They fought 3 times.
Yeah,
they sure did. That was the one for the ages of that era.
Yeah, of that era.
Absolutely.
So and the reason why I say that is because Double J, lightweight, to your point. When we trying to do a list like this of boxing now, does that kind of stuff should that kind of stuff factor in to where a guy should be at on the list?
Well,
or should he be on the list at all?
Here's why.
Say that again.
Then here's why. If you want to incorporate that part, then who you were just speaking of, Ward and Gotti.
Oh, yeah.
What did they have? A trilogy? A saga?
Yeah.
I mean, they had more fights than there were Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, there again, that's where it's an interesting concept, and unfortunately, that's why that was really the knock on Floyd Mayweather. You know, not taking second fight versus Berto.
Yeah.
Or again, we can make a number. There's a laundry list of issues that folks have taken up with him specifically, but if you were going to incorporate it, I think it could only benefit those that participated in really, again, being a purist, so to speak. That really shows that, they were out to prove something.
Yeah. And I got two more before we get out of here. And I appreciate y'all, hanging with me on this one. I hope the subject matter was pretty good today for you all. You all enjoyed it or whatnot. It's one guy that's not even the fans, I guess, when polled or whatever, made comments on who was left off the list. Terry Norris. How do you have any list with boxing and Norris ain't on it? At all. Not even in the honorable mentions. I mean, come on now. And then I said I had two more, but when I said Terry Norris, a third one popped up. But I'll get to my second one now. Rocky Marciano.
Can I just point this out?
Go ahead.
Rich, you got to remember where Norris is by way of Lubbock, Texas, conveniently.
Oh, man. Yeah, of course you would know that, right? Mr. Barbershop J is all in Texas. How would you know that? Because I didn't even know that. And I give it to the people straight. But anywho, thank you for pointing that out, Double J. That's got to be. I'm gonna start counting up all the Texas references and start docking y'all's pay, even though y'all doing this pro bono. Yeah, Rocky Marciano is 40th on the list, and Jake LaMotta is 32. Should Marciano be ahead of LaMotta? Because Marciano, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he at one time undefeated?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, absolutely.
And LaMotta was no joke.
Without a doubt, absolutely.
Yeah, LaMotta was no
No,
joke.
he was no joke.
But Marciano should be higher.
He was a special fighter for his day.
Yeah. I'm in agreement. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that all day, every day. I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, I'm still looking at the list here, and I'm saying, yeah, Marciano should have been ahead of LaMotta. Joe Frazier definitely should have been higher. And then lastly, rounding out the top 10, Sugar Ray Leonard was 10. Let me go through the top 10 again right quick. And then the question is, should Sugar Ray, is he have a case of being at 10? Of course, Sugar Ray Robinson was 1, Ali was 2, Henry Armstrong was 3, Harry Greb 4, Joe Louis 5, Willie Pep 6, Sam Langford 7, Jack Johnson 8, Roberto Duran 9, Sugar Ray Leonard 10. Should Sugar Ray, Brother Rich, do you think Sugar Ray should have cracked the top 10? When we just got done talking about Joe Frazier?
I think he's right where he should be. I think he's right
below Duran? Because Duran is at 9.
I think he's right. I think Sugar Ray is white. I'm going to say this. This might be controversial.
Okay.
I think Sugar Ray Leonard overachieved as a fighter. As a boxer, Duran was much more of a fighter. Was Sugar Ray, did he do a tremendous job? Was he a tremendous fighter in his own right? Absolutely. But as a fighter who got in the ring and slugged it out in terms of the typical fighter we thought of that era, you can't go against Roberto Duran. And even though he had his infamous No Mas fight against, of all people, Sugar Ray Leonard, I think Sugar Ray Leonard in that fight was a tactician who outpointed him and frustrated him as opposed to fighting him. He didn't beat him up. He frustrated him.
Okay.
And caused him to issue the No Mas edict.
I got you. Yeah, because they did call Duran the Hands of Stone. Just in case y'all missed that. Yeah, the people out there listening. Yeah. All right, so Double J, take us on home, man. Is Sugar Ray at 10 right where he should be, you think? Should he have cracked the top 10? Or should he been in the top 10?
He is, as Brother Rich pointed out, he is someone that I don't want to say he overachieved, but it seems like within the pulse of everyone that you would ask is that he maximized his potential, but
That's
never
fair.
truly exceeded really anyone's expectations in some respects in terms of the quote-unquote greatness element. And because of that, especially given this list in what the similarities are what I'm trying to draw as consistencies, it makes total sense. And truthfully, his position, his ranking is one that I think you would find pretty standard throughout, despite very different valuation.
Okay. So basically, translation, Sugar Ray being in the top 10 is really tip your cap. Salute, huh?
Right.
Okay. So they somebody, whoever, whoever it is that put this list together, they putting him in the top 10, because of course what he did in the ring, but just to, they saying that what he did in the ring, and in addition to, like, to your point, Brother Rich, not the fighter, of course, that Duran was, and I'm in agreement with that, because when you said that, I went back, as far back as my mind would allow me nowadays, seeing how I got an AARP card, and I said, yeah, Duran was he was a boxer and a brawler, but so was Hagler. Yeah, see,
And he fought in a day of marvelous Marvin Hagler, who many believe that he didn't win that fight. I being one of them. Excuse me.
Yeah. And see, now you bringing up something else, Brother Rich. You said about who you say he didn't win that fight. They said the same thing, Meldrick Taylor and Chavez.
Fact.
You know what I mean? They said Meldrick won that fight, but he, for whatever reason, he needed to hold on for them 9 seconds, and he couldn't, of course. And Meldrick Taylor was never the same after that. He was never the same after that, man. Yeah, it's all good, man. Hey, man, this was a good list. I'm gonna keep going through this thing here. I think this could be dived into, if you would, a little bit more in detail. So we might, come back to this, at a later date or whatnot, after I do a little bit more homework. But this was a nice little homework assignment for me, fellas. As always, this is good stuff. And on that note, it's been fun. But we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to the search box and you type in The Shop Report. And while you're there, please subscribe. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and give us a follow, please, and thank you. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as, if you'd like, you can drop us your comments, suggestions via email, theshopreport365@gmail.com. And you can also check out our website, theshopreport.com. And if that don't work, Google it. For my mans B. Rich, Double J, D. Gully, and all those who follow and support us, we say thank you. And we'd like to, lastly, of course, remind you that we are powered by Rocket Digital Media. It is the one-stop shop for all of your digital marketing needs. I'm Barbershop Jay, and you've been listening to The Shop Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla!